Okay, hello everyone. Welcome along to another episode of Championship Drill with myself, with Jerry, with Phil. Enjoyed the football yesterday, guys?
Brilliant. Yesterday was very good.
Crazy results. So the games were all kind of so mental, we might as well just go into them and we'll have a few talking points as the games come up as we come to those teams. We'll start with Friday night's game. Wasn't the greatest game on earth, as sometimes they are on Friday night. It wasn't an awful game either, though, to be fair.
No.
Watford beating Derby 2-1 in the end.
Yeah.
Deeney was missing. Pedro scored in the first half. Kind of a bizarre goal, really. Sarr using his pace down the wing, cut it back. It hit off Andre Wisdom, and then it kind of hit Pedro's trailing leg and somehow beat the keeper, who I think was just wrong-footed by it.
Yeah.
You know, they were very dominant early on. Will Hughes, who was probably the best player on the pitch the other night, very, very good. It's the first time he's faced Derby since he joined Watford for, I think it was around 8 million or something like that in 2017.
Yeah.
He got the second goal. Should have been 1-1 though before the Hughes goal.
Yeah.
I still don't see how the Kazim Richards goal was disallowed.
Yeah, it ruined the game, really, didn't it? It was a good game, and as you said, that could have happened then, and it was kind of put a bit of a dampener on the game, to be honest.
Yeah, it did. An own goal, a weird own goal in the second half. Colin, who really should have done better. I really don't know what he was trying to do.
Yeah, it was quite funny.
Put it into his own net.
I found it funny.
It was very funny. Yeah, it was very funny. He probably doesn't think it's funny, but they wouldn't, so he probably doesn't care too much. But,
yeah.
Derby kind of pushed hard at the end and had a lot of like dangerous looking corners and free kicks right at the end, but they didn't really put any of them on target. They're 5 clear to drop at the moment. Rotherham though have games in hand. Yeah. And Watford 3 wins in a row, and they're pushing for that second spot now as well.
Yeah, they're looking good. Like Will Hughes has been brilliant. I always remember Will Hughes when he was linked to Liverpool. But he's a great player, and he really did kind of run the park for Watford. Obviously, Deeney out's a massive thing, but yet again, Pedro doing good. Sarr up front, always dangerous. And it's looking a bit dodgy for Derby. I know we're going to come to the Birmingham game. They somehow managed to win, and obviously then rather than have them 2 games in hand.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah,
very much so. I mean, Watford really putting the pressure on with Brentford in a bad run of form, who we'll get to next. And like you said, Phil, Swansea losing as well yesterday. Watford are really in amongst it now again.
Yeah.
So we move on, I suppose, to the Brentford game, which was the afternoon kickoff on Saturday. Coventry 2, Brentford 0. And kind of mad for Brentford going into last Sunday's game. They hadn't lost in 21, and they've now lost 3 games in 6 days.
Yeah.
which is kind of nuts.
It's the championship, I suppose.
Yeah, that's it. Toney was missing for them. Kind of a shock announcement somewhat before the game that he's picked up a little niggling injury. He probably shouldn't be out for long, they said. I think he posted it on Twitter that he won't be out for very long. Just a small injury. He couldn't make the game yesterday. He may not make it midweek, but he might be back then for the weekend. Who knows?
Yeah, they really needed him in that game, like.
Yeah. There was a few chances. There was one in particular. I think Henry broke down the left early in the first half, and he put a cross in. And Forrest, who was up front replacing him, the young Finnish striker, or wherever he's from, I think he's from Finland. Or from Iceland rather. Forrest couldn't get on the end of it, and it was a cross that you just knew if Ivan Toney was playing up front, he'd have got on the end of it. And there was a few of those went into the box where I know he just seems to know where to go. He's just, Forrest probably a little inexperienced, the youngster. He kind of tried to get to the back post for one of them, when if he'd have made the run to the front post, he'd have had a tap in probably. And it was one you could have just seen Toney would have been sliding in and tucked it home for him, but didn't happen. Coventry, though, really good. They're good at home anyway, even though, Birmingham where they play, but they are a good team at home, and they're hard enough to beat. And like we said, we always love Coventry because they just go for it.
I think it was a dodgy penalty decision. There was.
Coventry,
he threw himself into it for a penalty, like he didn't.
Yeah, it's one of those where I think BMO was the player. Henry fouled him, according to the referee anyway. But like you said, he kind of clever forward play, some people would say, where he kind of knew what was happening.
Was it the linesman who gave it?
The linesman gave it, the ref didn't give it, yeah. And Walker, who was pretty good for them yesterday as well, tucked it home.
He was shining. He was very alert.
Yeah. Very, very good. I mean, the second goal, again, O'Hare, who was very good again yesterday, had a couple of shots himself that were easy, saves. But bad kick out really from Rea, who was, been very good for Brentford lately.
Yeah.
And the Coventry kind of pressed on it, pounced on the kick. O'Hare found Walker in the box, and a really nice turn and finish from him.
His dad's actually Walker as well, which is bizarre.
Yeah.
So, cool, like, obviously Forest connection there as well. Like, he played at Forest.
Yeah. And I don't know, Coventry deserved to win yesterday, really. Brentford kind of pushed forward a bit, but they didn't really create what you'd call brilliant chances.
They had one chance where the ball came in and it was a header, but nothing.
There wasn't really a lot. I mean, they had a lot of the ball and they put in a few crosses that were kind of cleared away easily enough. Really, really missed Toney. And then Henry, who was very bright for them, especially going forward yesterday, he's just frighteningly quick. He allows them, I think they mentioned it in commentary when they were talking yesterday as well, he allows them to only leave one back when they have corners, which gives them that extra man in and around the box, because he's so fast. They trust him to be able to cover if there's a counter-attack.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those runs. I think the ball was played out the left for him to try and run on to put in another cross, and his hamstring just went.
Yeah.
And it didn't look good at first. He kind of walked off the game, but if the hamstring is gone, it's gone, and that could be anything from like 2 to 6 weeks that they're missing him for now as well.
Yeah, it's not worse. It's not worse. As you say, 6 weeks is a long time. They'll be sweating that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's different grades of tears, and the fact that he walked off and wasn't really carried off is probably a good sign, but he won't know till he has a scan, because that, anyone who's played will know, like, the adrenaline will get you through a lot early on. He might be feeling that a couple of hours later a lot more.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. Big loss he'll be though for Brentford, and they have a game against Norwich. It should be a huge one coming up in a few weeks' time. I think they have 2 games before that, and they'll want Toney to be back for that one. I don't think Henry will probably be fit, but you never know. Big loss for them, and they really need to start getting the wins back before they play Norwich, because Norwich are flying it again.
Yeah, if they drift out of that top 2, like, you know what I mean, and then they're in that playoff battle, and they don't make it up, just that could be the end of Brentford next season. Like, you could see a lot of players really leave then. But look, I think they will be okay. I think their form will come good when it means they have to. And I want to see them go up, because they've been so good this season. Last season they were brilliant.
Unbelievable.
I'm delighted for Coventry, though. I'm not going to lie. I like Coventry for some reason. I really like Coventry. They haven't really changed their style all season. They've just gone for it.
No.
That's what I love. You know what I mean? I think they're a club that I'd love to see stay in the Championship and build towards something for the future. But obviously got it for Brentford. But Coventry, I'm absolutely rooting for.
Absolutely. And Coventry, they give themselves a chance, because they do pick up wins here and there. So they are giving themselves a chance to stay up. And like I said, they can build on something. I mean, there's talk of a new stadium possibly being given the go-ahead in Coventry itself for them, which would be great if they could get a new stadium and actually move back home. Obviously, COVID puts a downer on everything, and those plans are probably stalled now.
Is there other stadium like completely tore down, or what's the story?
It's not tore down. It's the rugby team, I think, use it.
Okay.
And there was talks of them kind of ground sharing with them again, but it kind of, I don't know, maybe it was too expensive for them or something. I'm not quite sure what happened there. But
was that their original stadium, Steve? That was Coventry's original stadium all the years back in the Premier League era, was it? Or
yeah. And they kind of, when they nearly went bust, they ended up selling the stadium, I think, or was seized from them or something. What's that, Phil?
No, Jerry said something.
Oh, yeah. That's shocking.
It is. Yeah. I mean, they lost their stadium, and they've played in a few different places, and they seem to be playing well in Birmingham, but they need to be back home. They need to be playing in Coventry, especially when fans are allowed back into games again, because it's not fair on having fans to travel away to the home games as such. So and they are a big club, because for a long time Coventry, I think Arsenal have the longest run in the top division without ever being relegated. And for many, many years, Coventry were the next team beyond Arsenal who'd been in the top division for the next longest period of time before they got relegated. So, they have good history up there. And, it's a shame. It really is. And hopefully, like you said, they stay up and they can build on things, because they have some great players there, even though, trying to hold on to some of them next season might be difficult.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Move on then to a team that are in absolute free fall. And another team that are going in the right way again is Bristol City against Barnsley.
I was watching Quest right last night.
Yeah.
And the lads have a feeling that Barnsley could make the playoffs.
They're flying it. I mean, they're sneaky. We'll talk about that there in a second. Where they are, they're kind of sneaking up. Or we can have a chat about it now since you brought it up.
Yeah.
They're 10th in the table. They're 4 points behind Bournemouth with a game in hand.
Yeah.
They win that game in hand, they'd go to 7th, a point behind Bournemouth.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. That'll be the story of the year for me. I keep saying it's the year of underdogs. But boy, they are really, I know they've had a couple of losses, but I'm telling you, lads, if they can break into that playoff, Barnsley back in the Premier League, that would have been one of the, that would have been like back in Leicester City to win. People.
I mean, they were favourites for relegation, Barnsley. One of the, beyond Wickham and probably Rotherham. They were probably the next favourites.
Yeah. They should be in the championship, first of all.
Yeah. And it's crazy, it really is. But again, if you look at Cardiff, changed their manager, it's worked for them. Barnsley changed their manager, it's worked for them. Bristol City just got rid of their manager. It hasn't worked for them yet because they were awful yesterday.
Yeah. Incredible story. Unbelievable.
Like, did you see the goal? It was absolutely shocking.
Yeah, I mean, Callum Britton had a good chance early on, but Bentley kept it out in the goal. I think we had one chance in the whole match with Deeney, who had a strike that was pretty easily saved, and that was it as far as Bristol going forward. Yeah, like you said, Morris eventually got the goal after they failed to clear a corner, which was a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that's his third goal in 3 matches.
Something like that, yeah. I mean, the corner came in, they made an absolute mess of clearing it, and I can't remember who it was, but one of the Barnsley players pulled it back from Morris, and he tucked it home. Bristol, though, so short in confidence, and worse than that, they just look like they're not good enough suddenly. Really bad in possession.
And the thing is,
6 defeats in a row.
They're 10 points off relegation.
10 points off the drop zone, yeah. I mean, 6 defeats in a row, and they haven't scored in 4 games.
They remind me of Liverpool, lads. They're just really down, they're down out. Like, you can't really see... You can't see much with Bristol moving forward, but like Barnsley would be some story. Like, they brought in that manager and no one knew who he was, lads. I'm not going to be disrespectful, but like, I know he's got a great career as a player with Munich and he played with Werder Bremen and all these clubs. But by Christ, since he's come in, he's really changed. He's a French man. I can only envision him in the change room giving the passionate speeches and stuff. But if they make a playoff, I'm telling you, like, it will just be. I'd nearly write a book about it next year.
Yeah,
and you know what? Because they've nothing to lose, they're the most dangerous. They could go up.
Because they can't just go for it because they're safe now, really, from relegation. I mean, they are.
Yeah.
Which was their aim when the new manager came in, keep us up, because they were dead and buried almost when he came in.
Yeah.
And now, like you said, Phil, there's just no pressure on them to do anything.
No.
So they can play with a freedom that the other teams, like the Bournemouth, like who are like have to make the playoffs. I mean, they're under real pressure.
Is it 20 years this year since when they were last in the Premier League?
Something like that. It would be like Jerry said. It'd be some story.
Unbelievable.
If you could imagine Barnsley and Cardiff out of nowhere making the playoffs, it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I'm telling you, it'll just be. Oh my God, that's the kind of things I look back on in life. I'll be sitting up in a hot tub in 20 years' time, hopefully on a holiday somewhere. I'll say, do you remember the time you said Phil and Steve spoke about Barnsley being relegated at the start of the show, the first episode, and they went away and got promoted? That'd be incredible, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, they, even before they changed the manager, I mean, they were dead and buried. And then the manager who had kept them up last season left to go to, like, it wasn't like he was sacked, he just left. It wasn't like they wanted to get rid of him. He went off to manage in America.
Madness, I'm telling you. And I remember passing Oakwell years ago. It's a great stadium, like, so, like, if they get back into the Premier League, or even, get a playoff spot, my God, there'll be some momentum there next year for them, whether they're in the Premier League or Championship, you know what I mean? And they're chasing. Unbelievable. Great to see it.
It is. We move on then to a team that are also chasing them down at the minute, Cardiff, who are on some run of form under Mick McCarthy. 5 wins and 2 draws.
This is a weird game. This was a weird game.
It was a strange game because it was 4-0 to Cardiff, even though they had only 36% of the possession. But you know what Cardiff are going to do. You know what Mick McCarthy are going to do. They're going to do the basics right. They're going to defend set play as well. They're going to be solid at the back, and they're going to threaten you when they get a chance to go forward. And they're going to be dangerous and big and strong from corners and things themselves. But an early penalty.
Yeah.
Kiefer Moore gave them the lead.
I think it's 6 and 7.
Yeah, I mean, when you think like McCarthy's been there for 7 games now, and he's 5 wins, 2 draws, which is some run for them. But Kiefer Moore has been scoring the goals in all those.
Yeah.
Preston dominated really without creating much in the first half. Not a whole lot happened, and they probably went in at half time thinking, "Look, we've allowed the ball, we can turn it around," and then almost straight away from the kickoff, a few minutes in, like a fine finish from Josh Murphy. Really, really took it well, touched it out of his feet, and really shot across the keeper. It was a nice finish, and it was 2-0 then.
That's when the madness happened with the penalty.
Yeah, I think Alan Brown had a header before that Phillips made a save to. And then the turning point in the game really was the ref awarded Preston a penalty, which, again, I'm not convinced that was a penalty. It looked like he just shouldered him shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
Paul Gallagher took it, it was saved, and Aidan Flint followed up and cleared it. And I wasn't sure that the ref gave a retake for encroachment, or did he think it was another foul? Because, again, it wasn't another foul. He clearly got the ball.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Was it a foul? You were watching the highlights program. Did they talk about that, whether he gave it for a foul or whether it was encroachment or what it was?
They weren't really sure, but I think they said it was a foul.
They said it was a foul. Yeah, they had it wrong though.
It wasn't a foul because he clearly got the ball.
Yeah.
He kicked it behind for a corner. But again, I don't know. But anyway, that aside, whatever he gave it for, he gave another one. And Ched Evans stepped up this time. He put it the other way. The keeper saved it again. It was a terrible penalty, to be fair.
Awful.
I'd have saved it.
Yeah, it was shocking.
It was absolutely awful. And that kind of knocked the wind out of Preston then. And then 2 horrible mistakes from Lindsay at the back. Him and the goalkeeper made an absolute mess. I think the keeper kicked it off Lindsay or something.
Yeah.
And it bounced out to Ojo, and he found more good. Like Everson did well, get back on his line. He saved the Moore's header, and then Pack tucked home for the rebound to make it 3. And that was just 5 minutes or 3. Yeah, 5 minutes, I think.
I know you were saying afterwards that the social media was getting battered.
Absolutely battered. I mean, they really were. I mean, the 4th goal then came with, I think it was his first touch of the game almost, when Lindsay played a blind back pass. And Harris pounced on it and just rounded the keeper to make it 4. And what I loved about that is with the empty stadium, you can hear Mick McCarthy shouting at him, go on. You know, the unmistakable accent of Mick McCarthy coming through. The passion for him, even though they're 3-0 up near the end. He wanted the 4th. But yeah, like you were saying there, Phil, the Preston fans, a few of them backing the manager, but most of them say, look, the time has come, he has to go because they're just not playing well enough.
This week, Steve, the team selection was a bit better. Obviously, Greg Cunningham started. Obviously, Alan Brown was going to push up a bit more. I know Daniel Johnson played, and Morby and all that. But they made 5 subs. Now, I'm not saying nothing, but the times were just incredible. Obviously, the 68th minute, they brought on 2 players. Obviously, 71st minute. So, yet again, it just shows the balance isn't there. I'm absolutely thrilled for Mick McCarthy. I'm a huge Preston fan, and I just really hope they can turn it around. Obviously, I think they will stay up. Obviously, there's going to be no fair there, but they need serious changes next year because I love watching them play. And yet again, it sounds like I'm being biased with that whole Irish connection, but geez, the whole Irish connection thing's almost non-existent anymore now at Preston. With so many players leaving and such and such. But Harry Wilson was immense for Cardiff. Sean Morrison is solid as ever, lads, and Marlon Pack was brilliant. But Mick McCarthy really does have a side that can really do some damage, and I think they're gonna nip. You know what I mean? 5th and 6th, I think.
I really think so. Yeah.
Yeah, very good, lads. The momentum is unreal. He's got Josh. There's a guy called Joseph Bennett. He's playing out of his skin for Cardiff. And Mick's doing that. The way he sets out is pretty good. They're attacking, and I say Harry Wilson is just he's definitely the difference in that squad. He really can light a bulb. You know what I mean? He's just the way he watches the game, the way he reads it, the way he passes, unbelievable. So I'll be very surprised if Cardiff don't make a top 6. And that's the truth. I think they're really going to nip that soon. They're 3 points behind it.
Yeah.
things for Big Mick, and I love the way he came in. I said it last week. The way he came in and says, "Look, I don't want a long-term contract. Let me come in and do a job, and then you can give me the contract afterwards if I deserve it." Tactically genius, you know what I mean? And I love it. You know, they're all fighting for him. Brilliant.
Absolutely, absolutely. What'll probably happen now is they'll offer him a 4-year contract now next week, and they'll go on a mad losing run.
That's
Yeah.
But a big game midweek for them because they're 3 behind Bournemouth and they travel to play Bournemouth on Wednesday night.
Yeah. Is that on TV, is it?
I imagine they have to show that on TV, surely.
Yeah.
Surely they do. But
game.
then again, they probably won't, but they should because, I mean, that's the big game of midweek, really, massive game. But Preston just up and down, and like I said, one fan was calling for the manager to be sacked in the middle of the match.
Yeah.
So they're frustrated.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to see. I think the manager getting, the director coming down sacking the manager mid-match would be hilarious. But
it wouldn't.
Yeah. I just don't know will he be there next season.
Are you surprised? And I'm not talking crap about anyone. I'll never ever be a manager. I'll never be a player. But he's a great manager, lads, and he should just be doing better at the club. He really should. He's been there and done it with Norwich back in the day.
You can imagine when he goes home, to his family or whatever, he's sitting there going, you know what I mean? The stress on him.
They don't have a striker. They don't have a striker that's playing well. None of them are.
Yeah.
And
then the ball with Shawnee, lads. Shawnee came in on a high, and he had a good start. There was a couple of niggling injuries and stuff, but do you know what I mean? You need to go after a proper striker. Shawnee was always a striker with City, or just after striker, but they always had another position from there one. That's not the knock. He needs confidence big time.
Yeah, it is. And if you look at the players, they brought in the youngster from Denmark, Reese. He's been okay, but he's not exactly banging in the goals. Then they bring in Ched Evans, who's never been banging in goals, really. Not at this level anyway. And he's not really scoring for them.
Yeah.
Yet again, Alan Brown, Greg Cunningham's very good, lads. He's very strong. Obviously, Liam Lindsay, he's normally on the ball, but he had a bad game. But, I don't understand it. Scott Sinclair came in on a huge momentum from Celtic. He was doing so with Celtic, right? Obviously, a former Man City player. That was at one of the Man City teams that's probably the greatest of all time. Just not doing it, you know what I mean? Sinclair's never been a striker. Sean Maguire was the hottest prospect in Irish football.
Yeah.
And when he came to the club, he was old. He's never played in the position he's always been at with City, never once. They tried it once and that was it, I think. But you know what I mean? Sean's confidence is gone.
Yeah.
If we could bring him to Cardiff and make him the player he was.
Yeah.
But they need a striker. And I'm telling you, I'll watch him next season, but I'm telling you, I'll be very surprised if Alex Neil's there. And I hate saying it because I don't like seeing managers sacked.
Yeah.
But he needs to do better and he's not doing it. He has all the attributes to be that manager, but he's just not doing it with the club. So it doesn't suit him. It's not a club for him,
Yeah. Nope, definitely not. We move on then to one of the shocks. I mean, we already had the Coventry one.
What do you call this there?
Yeah, this was one we were talking about Friday, Phil, that we had a feeling this was going to be the shock of the weekend. Didn't expect it to be 4-1 though.
Yeah.
Huddersfield, Swansea won.
I think it's Huddersfield. We always talk about Huddersfield having 18 shots and goal. They just happened to score 4 this week.
Yeah. And that's it. And they took them in this one, and some of them were great. They have 7 players out injured at the moment, Huddersfield, and Toffolo was suspended as well yesterday.
Yeah.
But they just were all over Swansea. They just pressed them non-stop all over the pitch. 22 minutes, some of the pressing paid off. The ball made its way out to Pippa, who crossed for Campbell to score. Bakuna then hit the post with Swansea's keeper well beaten. Ayew then had a shot that was saved.
Yeah.
Woodman in goal then saved a good free kick again from Bakuna and was alerted to Holmes, who I think came in on the follow-up. Bidwell almost got Swansea back on terms. His effort was cleared off the line. And it looked like Huddersfield would go 1 up, and then Horahan, who's been just great for Swansea. Very clever free kick.
Yeah.
That he just was at the edge of the box and he just put it over the wall. Keeper had got nowhere near it. And it was 1-1 at half time. You thought, okay, Swansea now, best defensive record in the league. They're going to go out now and win this quite easily. But straight away, I think Huddersfield, was it O'Brien, I think it was, a bit of a deflection early on, very early in second half, made it 2-1.
Yeah.
Then a great pass from Rowe found Holmes, and he scored his first goal since November. So his second of the season. And then 3 minutes later, like they say about goals coming like buses, what a strike for him for the fourth goal.
If you watch it, it's hilarious because just before he kicks it bobbles.
Yeah, it's so he ends up catching it in like a half volley.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable strike from him, from a guy who'd only scored 1 all season before that, suddenly to get 2 in this
But I
game.
think he only came back, didn't he, a few weeks back? He was away somewhere on loan.
That's it. And they get him back. It's crazy. It's crazy because he's, if they can get him firing and scoring goals, the future is looking brighter again suddenly for Huddersfield.
Swansea, I suppose they're always due a bad performance, but yesterday that was really, really poor.
Very bad. And they still have games in hand, so it's not doom and gloom for them yet, obviously. Like they're still well in the playoff picture and definitely well in the picture for automatic promotion. But Swansea have conceded 19 goals this season. Huddersfield have scored 6 of those 19 goals they've conceded.
Yeah. Crazy.
So the good news for Swansea is they don't have to play Huddersfield anymore this season because they seem to be their bogey team.
Yeah.
But strange one. Crazy. Huddersfield, 7 points clear of the drop. They're not going to feel safe yet, obviously.
No.
Because, like you said, they usually just don't take their chances. They did yesterday, but they're always capable of not taking chances again.
Yeah.
No shocked. I think there was predictions that Swansea would lose, but look, Richard Keogh is the difference, lads. It's all down to Richard Keogh, and he's genius, and he's eye for ball.
Yeah. That's it. We move on then to the worst game of them all yesterday.
Yeah, it's very
Millwall, not a lot. Wickham 0-0. Not a lot happened really. Millwall have become kind of draw specialists. This is their 15th draw in their 31 games.
Yeah.
No, they haven't lost in 8. This was only the 5th clean sheet Wickham have had all season. Scott was in goal for Wickham because Alsop went down injured. He'd been on loan, I think, at Stevenage. So they brought him back. Scott Malone had a good effort that was saved by him. And that was about it, really. Both the penalty box turned down the penalties, and nothing really happened.
Yeah, this game was very poor.
Very, very poor. A draw does neither of them much good. It keeps Millwall's unbeaten run going, I suppose. But Millwall, 7 points off the playoffs, but they've had 15 draws this season.
Yeah. Can you sack the manager for that? It's awful to be sacked for 15, 16 draws. We haven't been beat, but you drew all the games. It's very hard to sack a manager for something like that, isn't it?
Yeah. Because if even 4 of those 15 became wins, they'd be in the playoffs.
Yeah, Jesus, you feel for the manager, all he's lacking is that one little ingredient up front, just to bang the goals. But they took a banker on Troy Parrott, obviously it didn't work out. Imagine being sacked. Oh yeah, my unbeaten one. I've never really been beat at the club, but I got sacked. You know what I mean? Why? Because we drew so many games. It's mad. It's harsh, but that's football. That's why you have to love it.
Yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't. If Millwall start scoring goals, you can't count them out of the race for the playoffs either.
Yeah.
They're only 7 points back. It's probably not likely because there's so many teams between them and the playoff positions as well that would all have to start dropping points. But you never know. Move on then to the league leaders, Norwich, who hitting form again.
You actually said it 1-0. You said 1-0 the other day.
They haven't had one in a while, I don't think. Rotherham, though, started really well. Lewis Wing hit the post from a corner, and then Robinson had a goal disallowed. Probably rightly so as well, I think. Norwich upped it after that. Beneda, Cantwell, Pookie combined really, really well all day. And the only goal was kind of Beneda played it. Cantwell with a really, really nice dummy. It looked like he was going to take it on, and he just let it roll past him to Pookie, who still had a lot to do, to be fair. He was quite a distance out. Ran into the box, finished it well. 7 Beneda assists for Pookie goals now is the best combination in the league in terms of someone setting up goals for someone else.
Pookie should have had a hat-trick yesterday.
He should have. I mean, he saw an effort brilliantly saved by Johansson. And then Vrancic, I don't know how he missed it. I've watched it about 3 times now. I still don't expect him to be putting it in the net every time I watch it. But he put it wide. Then I think Beneda found Cantwell about, maybe 10 yards out, and he blasted it over. Rotherham had a few good chances. Like we said, Willie's hit the bar with a vicious volley. The goalkeeper was nowhere near it.
Like the lads were trying to say that he almost broke the bar.
He hit that with some pace. The keeper didn't even see it, I'd say.
No.
It looked like he didn't. He didn't even move. He was getting nowhere near that.
Story
But
with
lucky for that. What's that, Phil?
Story with Benny.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like he has not even played this season, has he?
He's been injured.
No, he's been injured. But there's no word on him coming back or anything. Then as well, I think. Yeah.
Was it?
He had a bit of a setback. I think he came back to fitness and he got injured again.
Yeah.
It can happen. I think Ben Crooks had a chance as well at the end that Max Aaron's got a block on. 14 unbeaten at home now for Norwich. And Rotherham slip into the bottom three, although they have games in hand. Rotherham starting to lose a few in a row, even though they're playing really well in all of them.
They're playing sexy football. I want to say they're on 29 games. Obviously, Birmingham are just ahead with 31. But they should be okay. But then again, it's all down to Birmingham City. If they can somehow get goals and stay up, then it'll be a great story. But yeah, Rotherham, like when you watch teams like Birmingham and Rotherham, like they're not similar one bit. Like Rotherham play good football, where Birmingham can grind out results and stuff. So it's going to be interesting. Sheffield Wednesday are in with a shout as well. Obviously, Wickham, they're on 20 points. Not looking good, but look, it's it's interesting to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think Wickham are just going to enjoy it as they have all season, and if they go down, they go down.
Exactly.
We move on quickly then to Forest Blackburn, another 1-0 in this one. Blackburn lot of the ball in this one. Forest had so many chances. It looked like it was going to be one of those games where they were going to be cut out because of the chances. Yeah. Glenn Murray missed one, Knockaert missed one. Murray then had one cleared off the line. Forest did make the breakthrough with Mighton, his second career goal. Did well, reacted quickly from a free kick that was kind of blocked out. Cyrus Christie then had a great shot. I don't know how Kaminsky in goal tipped it onto the post, but he did.
Yeah.
And then it just seemed like they were going to rue those chances when Knockaert committed a foul and Armstrong stepped up to Blackburn to level it. And to be fair, it wasn't like Ched Evans' bad penalty. It was a really well-taken penalty. The keeper just did brilliant to get to it.
Yeah.
Samba and goal for Forest. Forest not really troubled much after that. Few efforts from Rovers, nothing major. Forest 7 again, cleared the drop. Decent form, probably looking up the table now as opposed to down because of the form they're in.
Like one loss in 10 or something like that.
Yeah. And Rovers now were 12th in the table and 10 points outside the playoffs.
What's that, Jerry? What are you saying?
They'll have a late charge. I think Forest now will won the charge. They won't be far off the top 6. They won't make it, but they'll finish in the top 10. I reckon that's the way it's going to go for them. They will have a late charge. I was good to see Harvey Elliott back, lads. I thought he would have made a difference at Blackburn. Didn't look himself, so we don't know what's going on. Like there was obviously 2-3 games he didn't play. Obviously a lot of stuff about this Fulham and Liverpool transfer. Is it on his mind? They don't know, but Blackburn are in trouble. Not in trouble to get relegated, but like they're not going to make that playoff if they keep going. They haven't been really good in the last 4 or 5 games, and they're the team for me that have dipped, where they have been the most exciting to watch for half the season. They've really dipped, and I don't think it's going to be recovered. I think that form will stay below what they were at,
Yeah, and obviously we wish Sam Gallagher well. Not a lot coming out in terms of what has happened to him in the hospital yet, so we don't know for sure. But he came off yesterday after an awkward fall, and they were talking of him coughing up blood in the dressing room afterwards, and they think he might have punctured a lung.
Yeah.
So we'll wait and see what the news through on that. He's in hospital at the minute, so hopefully we'll hope for good news for him, and I suppose we all wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully it's not too serious. We move on along now to QPR Bournemouth, 2-1 QPR in this one. Bournemouth started pretty well here. Wilshere split the defence early on, billing away. Dieng made the save. Then Long was put through as well, and he should have done better, but again, the keeper made the save.
That was very bad. Like, that was almost identical to the Salah one where he just hit it straight at the keeper.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Second half, then Chair, who's very, very dangerous from set plays, put win for Barbet. His effort hit the bar, and soon after that, Adam Smith fired wide for Bournemouth. And then bad defending, an awful pass from Epham was pounced upon by Johansson. He made it 1-0 to QPR. 11 minutes later, Long did make up for his earlier miss after Sturridge headed the ball down from Stanislas' cross.
He
and
couldn't
fired
miss
home.
that.
Huh?
He couldn't miss that.
No, he couldn't. Well set up from the two boys, from Stanislas and Sturridge. QPR then took the lead after Kane fired home. Bon and Adamoah did well in the build-up. And then twice Chris Willock put Bon through when he should have scored, and he missed both opportunities. Straight at the keeper. QPR hung on though. Their first defeat in 5 games now for Bournemouth. Just 3 clear of Cardiff, like we've been saying. Meanwhile, QPR are 13th and 10 behind Bournemouth with 2 games in hand as well. That could see them cut the gap down to 4. So QPR, another team, if they can win some games in hand, could be pushing for the playoffs.
Yeah.
About time. And Phil was saying just before the show that Woodgate possibly might stay at Bournemouth until the end of the season.
Seems like he might.
It's confirmed.
Yeah. Like Woodgate is going to stay there. They were having issues, I think, with when it came to Henry. They'd asked permission to speak to him, and I don't know if they've been given it or not given it, or what the long-term plan is there. But we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, they can't just take the manager; they have to be allowed by the club that employs him to speak to him. So whether or not Montreal have said no, look, you're not talking to him. He's under contract here. Could be the case. So maybe they'll try again this summer for someone. And like you said, Phil, maybe if they go back up, it'll be easier for them to get a full-time manager in. But then again, if Woodgate takes them to promotion, it'd be harsh not to give him the job.
Yeah.
Very hard.
But then Woodgate will go up and lose 3 or 4 games and he'll go then. So
that's it. But an interesting one. So we'll see how Woodgate does till the end of the season. And I mean, they can't keep losing because, like we said, you've got the likes of Cardiff for flying it up. Barnsley, if they win their game in hand, they're going to be right up there. QPR, if they win games in hand, they're going to be right up there.
Yeah.
You know, you still have Stoke and Middlesbrough as well, who we haven't talked about yet. We'll be getting to their games in a minute. They're not exactly out of it yet either.
No.
Good times. I'm telling you, as a football fan, it's good times. Championship all excites, never disappoints.
No. I mean, you've those top 4 that are probably battling it out for the automatic spots. Yeah. And then you've probably got 6 or 7 teams now battling it out for those other 2 places.
It's what you want. It's football at its best. I love it.
And 2 of those teams, I suppose, battling it out for the playoff spots met yesterday. Reading 0, Middlesbrough 2. Huge win for Middlesbrough.
I thought Reading were very poor.
They were very poor yesterday because Borough are now just 5 behind Reading and just 3 back from Bournemouth as well. Level on points with Cardiff. Worst goal difference, obviously. Yeah. But Reading had won this, they'd have been 8 clear of Middlesbrough, you know. So it was a massive one, like, or they'd have been 11 clear actually, I think, had they won this one of Middlesbrough. So it's just 5 points ahead of them now. Reading, lost 7 of the last 8 against Borough. This is 8 and 9 now, so they don't do well when they play Borough. Fletcher opening goal after 22 minutes. Awful mistakes, really, like, for the goals, you have to say. They were very, very poor.
Very, very poor.
7 minutes later, Bola made it 2-0. It wasn't a game of great chances, really.
Yeah, I reckon the way Reading are going, they'll fall out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think they had a late chance. Late on, they had a chance rather to pull one back. They didn't score that one. I think Morrison had their best chance in that one. But 2 defeats and 3 for Reading.
Yeah.
Certainly, like we said in the fight now, when you think of the likes of Cardiff, Borough, both of them are just 5 points back. Barnsley win their games in hand. They'll only be something like 3 points behind them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, like we said, but Reading are hitting a bad patch at the wrong time.
Yeah. They don't need it, as you say, and they've been so good all year. Even when they had a little dip there, not halfway, kind of a quarter through the way of the season, they had a little dip, and we kind of said, right, that could be it now for Reading, but they pulled back and they kept the momentum. But yeah, they really need to kind of win the next 2-0 or 3, I suppose, to stay in contention of a top 6. But great win for Borough, and as you say, with Cardiff and Barnsley. Chasing a top 6, it's going to be really interesting. We'll see who really has the bottle when it comes to it then,
Yeah, absolutely. We move on then to a game that was just slightly better than the Millwall-Wycombe game.
Yeah.
Which was Sheffield Wednesday, Birmingham City. The 2 lowest scoring teams in the league, Matt, so it was pretty drab, as you might expect.
We were talking that it could be 0-0, but...
Yeah, I mean, the best chance in the first half fell to Gardner for Birmingham. He headed wide from a great position. Then Shaw committed a foul on Sanchez just before halftime and was booked. And then just after the break, he brought down Colin to pick up a second yellow card and leave Wednesday down to 10 men. Birmingham came to life for a little bit. Bella had a shot. Westwood, good save there, but he could do nothing to stop Hogan getting his 6th of the season after Bella cross. But you'd think then Birmingham won up against 10 men, they'd kick on, but they didn't. And absolutely nothing happened really for the rest of the match.
Yeah, it's very hard to watch. The highlights were even just kind of grabbing on, as you said.
Yeah, I mean, Birmingham are in trouble. They're right down there in the relegation zone, but their away form, like so many teams in this league, seem to be playing better away from home this season. 22 points they've taken now away from home, and they've only taken 9 points at home. So they'll be hoping they don't have too many home games for the rest of the season. You know, they're above the relegation zone, but Wednesday, who they just beat here today, so it was a huge win for them, have a game in hand over them. Rotherham have a couple of games in hand over them.
They've done no harm in survival mode, so I suppose it obviously helps them. But like, I think Hogan's kind of hitting form at the right time. He's kind of getting a goal here there, maybe 4 or 5 goals in the last 7-8 games.
Yeah,
that's encouraging. Sanchez looks kind of like a bright spark. Garner's is Gary Garner. He's been around the block so many years now. But yeah, I think when the man came off, like when the man got sent off, it was Liam Shaw at James again, and they closed shop. Like when they got the goal, they done a Jose Mourinho on it and parked the bus. And rightly so. I think they got the 3 points. And
this was a proper relegation 6-pointer, as they call it, because they were level on points going into this one.
Yeah.
Wednesday still have the game in hand. If Wednesday had won there yesterday, it'd have been 3 clear of Birmingham with a game in hand.
Yeah.
So it was massive win for Birmingham to give them a chance of staying up anyway.
They should be a chance. They like if they went down, it'd be a catastrophe. You know what I mean? But look, there's a lot going on at the club at the moment. So if they stay up, who knows what will happen?
Wednesday had won their last 5 home games as well, so they've been in good form at home. But the red card obviously turned the game, and they had no chance when they were down to 10 men. But this is 4 or 5 times in big games Wednesday have had someone sent off this season. I mean, they just seem to pick up these red cards in games that they really have a chance of winning.
Yeah.
It's really stupid.
So
absolutely silly, really is. I suppose we'll move on to the last game then. Stoke with a 3-0 win here, and again horrific defending for the goals.
Awful.
Nathan Jones obviously didn't do well when he managed Stoke, and this was probably reminded him of those days at Stoke, because it must be miserable for him yesterday as well.
Is the Stoke biggest win in God knows how long?
Yeah. It's their 9th now, Stoke, I think. 4 off the playoffs. Luton are 16th, but they have a game in hand over most teams that are around them. But it was a strange one. Sonny Bradley slipped. Fletcher ran onto it. He squared it for Powell, who basically had a tap into an empty net.
Yeah.
Then there was another error that allowed Joe Allen to cross the ball in. That Powell really rose above a defender that he shouldn't have been able to get above. Made it 2-0, and then almost a carbon copy of the first goal. Poor pass from Crane, and then Ray fell over as well, and Clucas was able to run onto it and square for Fletcher this time. Almost identical. Stoke had, they just had more chances, really.
Jerry has a soft spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, Slug, I think, a horrible clearance. Clucas hit the side netting, then Vokes and McLean, who were both on the substitutes, had efforts saved. And it was a strange one. Luton bad errors, which is not like them, really.
It's a bad day in the office when they take off 2 defenders.
Yeah, I mean, their best chance, and probably their only real chance of the game, fell to Cornick, who fired wide from a very tight angle when it was still 0-0. Before the game, Stoke said farewell to Ryan Shawcross, who's been there 15 years or so. He's off to join David Beckham in Miami.
Yeah. He deserves it. He's been so loyal to that club. There was a time he was linked to United and Liverpool and Arsenal, I'm sure, and all these big clubs. But dedicated, committed, great servant to the club. Let him enjoy the great club, Miami.
It's really one of those days where it's like disaster. The fans aren't in the stadium.
Yeah. Well, he'll get a testimonial. I don't know, has he done a testimonial already? But look, I think he started his career at United, as far as I can recall. And he's been with Stoke ever since, you know what I mean? So into Miami, obviously Beckham has great things. He's 33, so 3-4 years out there. Great way to bow out. It was his dream to play out there.
Yeah.
One England cap. His career highlight was probably beating Liverpool 6-7 that time. I can't remember what it was, but they trashed Liverpool one day. I know Stephen Allen was on the bench. And I'm delighted for him. Obviously, he's young. So look, he's 33, 3-4 years out there. Great way to bow out.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Perfect.
That's it. So they were the game. So before we look ahead, your goal yesterday has to be Holmes, surely.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a keeper in the world would have saved that one.
No.
The best player yesterday, there was a few of them were good.
I thought O'Hare.
O'Hare was very good. Yeah, he kind of ran the show against Brentford.
Yeah, I'm going to say Nick Powell. I think Nick Powell for Stoke was brilliant. And he came off then, obviously, they could have kept him on for the hat-trick. But when Obi Mikel's waiting to come on, you just come off. Simple as.
Yeah, that's it. For myself, I think I'll probably give it to maybe Beneda in Norwich. He was very good. I mean, he should have had about 3 or 4 assists in that game yesterday. Yeah. The team display.
Huddersfield
has to be 4-1 against Swansea.
Huddersfield or Cardiff, one or the other.
Cardiff were very good too, yeah. Given what they did. And obviously Coventry as well, a good win against Brentford. But I think I'd go with Huddersfield as well. Hard to argue with that. I mean, given all their injuries and everything.
Definitely.
And what about the shock of the week then? The same game?
Yeah. Has to be.
Yeah. That
and the Brentford one, yeah. But especially the scoreline, I think, in the Huddersfield one.
Yeah.
So we move on to the fixtures coming up. Some big ones here. Tuesday night, Birmingham against Norwich.
Do you know what? I'm going to say Birmingham.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. No, I think Norwich will win this one. One then again, Huddersfield back on track maybe after that win, but they go away to Derby.
Oh, they lose this time. Derby
at home.
Yeah.
1-1.
1-1, yeah. Middlesbrough, Bristol City. Two teams definitely in opposite directions.
Middlesbrough.
2-0 to Borough, yeah.
Yeah, I think Borough as well. It's one of these where until Bristol City do something, you're just going to assume they're going to keep losing every match because they've been so bad.
Yeah.
Luton against Millwall.
Luton 2-0. James Collins to score both.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think Millwall finally get a loss after 8 without. I think maybe a 0-0 draw on this one. Two teams that do struggle to score goals now and then. Rotherham against Nottingham Forest. Again, a big game near the bottom.
Rotherham, I'd say.
Rotherham at home, yeah.
Yeah, to call that one, to be honest. I'm going to say 0-0.
Tough one, yeah. I might just give it to Rotherham, maybe a 2-1, but I could easily see a draw on that one as well. Wickham home to Reading. Probably not where Reading want to be going when they're after losing a few.
Wickham 2-1, yeah.
Yeah, I think Wickham might steal that one as well from them. Then Wednesday night is when we've got a few games that are very interesting ones. Barnsley against Stoke, again in terms of chasing the promotion spots, a big one there.
Either a draw or Barnsley.
Yeah.
2-2.
I could see it being a draw, which will help the other teams around them, really. Then Brentford, after 3 defeats, have a home game against Sheffield Wednesday.
4-0 Brentford.
Yeah, I think back on track, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. I think Wednesday are good at home, but they've struggled away from home this season. Swansea, after their shock defeat, are up against Coventry, who beat Brentford.
Swansea back to win away, yeah.
Yeah. There. Yeah. Another game that is an interesting one is Blackburn, who haven't been in great form lately, but they're home to Watford, who have been great lately.
I reckon Blackburn, actually.
It's one of those where you just think it should be Watford because of the form the teams are in.
Yeah.
But it's one of those you just have the sneaky suspicion, all right, that Blackburn might do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blackburn as well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Then the big one that we talked about briefly earlier, Bournemouth home to Cardiff.
Very hard to call. I reckon
3 points between the teams.
A draw.
3-1 to Cardiff.
3-1 to Cardiff, yeah. I think maybe a draw as well. I think Cardiff away from home would settle for a point and keeping the unbeaten run going.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it could go either way. That's going to be a great game. And then finally, we have Preston home to QPR. Preston, we know their struggles at home.
QPR win.
QPR in good form. I think maybe QPR to take this one 1-0.
Yeah, 1-1.
1-1, yeah. And there we have it. Some lovely games midweek, really. So we'll be back at the end of next week, bringing you the highlights from those and hopefully loads of goals and a few shocks and surprises. And who knows what will happen in the meantime. Maybe Bristol City will have a new manager by then. You just don't know.
Just before we go, like Nigel Pearson's the latest name linked.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? Like I said, they're a club that have good foundations there, so it's a job that you wouldn't be afraid of taking.
Yeah. And the thing is, Nigel Pearson needs a club next where he knows he'll be appreciated.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, good shout there. Maybe it'd be a good one for him. Why not?
Yeah.
Again, short-term deal. See what happens.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah. So we'll leave it there, and we'll be back probably next Friday, talking about the midweek games, and we'll have a better feeling then for the playoffs then, because there's some big games around the playoffs, big games around the relegation. So it'll be interesting. There's going to be lots of twists and turns for the rest of the season, and some of them are probably going to come this week. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll be back with you soon.
Yeah, cheers.
Thanks.